Let's say a very good morning to Ben Habib and find out what he makes of it all. Ben, a very good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
I see that the BBC have noticed that you might be quite a useful commentator to have on Question Time. So well done for getting on there. They seem to be sort of slightly changing their policy, actually having some sensible people on it for a change to say some sensible things.
Well, that's very kind of you. I enjoyed my time. I thought Fiona Bruce was fantastic. Yeah. I know she gets a lot of flack from various different directions, but, you know, I thought she was very balanced and gave everyone an opportunity to speak. And, you know, I thought I made, you know, the point for effectively for Brexit, lower regulations, lower taxes, and making it, you know, pay to work, which seems an unfashionable concept at the moment. Doesn't it just? as indeed seems to be unfashionable, particularly in London, but I say London deliberately because outside of London, I think people have a very different attitude. But incredible stats here from asylum applications of refugees from Albania this morning. Harry Cole from The Sun put this out. UK accepts a whopping 55.4% of Albanian asylum applications. With the same number of applications, France takes 2.3%, Italy 19.9%, Spain 4%, Belgium 3%, Greece 0.3%, Germany, Sweden, Holland and Austria 0%. So what is going on in Britain that we take 55.4% of Albanian asylum applications?
Well, you know, what's really interesting about the numbers you've just reeled off, Mike, is that these people are clearly settling in the UK, aren't they? The Schengen zone has enabled people from Albania to, once they've entered, you know, the European Union, to rapidly come across to our shores. And it says a couple of things. It says, one, they've got no border control. Well, we know that. Two, that they're aiding and abetting and promoting these people to come across to the United Kingdom. And three, and this is the important thing from our perspective, is that we are a very attractive country for them to come to. And they believe they can get here and stay here. And that's what the stats indicate.
Because they
can.
There's
no getting away because they can. And it's a complete breakdown in governance. It's got nothing to do with the European Court of Human Rights. It's got nothing to do with international treaty commitments or international laws or indeed domestic laws, Mike. This is a complete breakdown in governance by our own institutions. Border force isn't working. We've got to stop these people coming across into our territorial waters at the point of entry. If we're going to do any kind of bilateral agreement with France, it should be this, that we, British boats, have the right to patrol French waters. We should have the right for border force to actually now go into French waters and prevent these people from even getting anywhere near our territorial waters. That's the kind of approach we should be having, not a bilateral agreement where we pay them £62 million this year, another £72 million next year, and they do nothing. We've got to take control back into British hands. That was the whole point about taking back control of our borders. It wasn't to design elaborate, expensive, convoluted, unworkable deportation schemes. It was to ensure that people never entered the UK illegally in the first place. And that's where the concentration of government needs to be. Suella Braverman needs to stop thinking about domestic law, which takes ages to deliver. You know, changes in domestic law take ages to deliver. And with this broken Conservative government, the chances of actually delivering any new legislation, which might be remotely controversial, is close to nil. No, she's got all the armament she needs from a legal perspective. She needs to just make sure Border Force does their job. And I just want to say one more thing before I finish. Before people say, before detractors say, well, Border Force have to rescue these people because they made this perilous journey into the channel, they can't be left to suffer in the channel at risk of losing their lives. Well, remember, these people paid £3,000 willfully to make that illegal journey. It's up to them to take responsibility for their own safety. And under international law, we are not obliged to give them a safe passage to the UK. Under UNCLOS, which is the UN Convention of the Law of the Seas, Article 98, we're only obliged to rescue them if it's reasonable to do so. And I would argue that it is entirely unreasonable for British Border Force to be rescuing people who are literally trying to enter the country illegally. They've got to send them back. And if they choose to jump out of their dinghies and self-harm, well, that's their problem. It's not a British-made problem. It's a French-made problem and we need to push these people back to France.
No, it seems as though at every point, rather like the police in London being outwitted by Just Stop Oil every single time they decide to do anything, you know, these asylum seekers and the gang masters who are bringing them here, because let's face it, that's what they are, the criminal gangs, are outsmarting Border Force and outsmarting the Home Office. But let me show you this video, Ben. I don't know whether you've seen this from last night. This was in Westminster, around Parliament Square. A group of people celebrating Albanian independence. Now, this is somehow trying to move these cars. Just have a look at the car. Apart from a lot of Albanian, two women in Albanian national dress. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any of this specifically. But it just shows you the Will Smith going on. Which I'm pretty sure I did be arrested for. Burning rubber on the streets of London. I mean, it's extraordinary. I don't think there's one car in this little cavalcade of traffic worth less than £100,000. I mean, if these are the people who are coming desperately from Albania to seek refuge, they're doing all right, aren't they?
Well, they've come across as economic migrants and they've done terribly well. But that last night, I don't think was a celebration of Albanian independence. Last night was a show of force to Parliament about Albanians present in the United Kingdom. They know that their arrival in this country across the channel illegally is now coming under scrutiny, and that was their pushback. That was them actually giving Parliament their proverbial middle finger. That's how I see it. I don't know how you see it, Mike, but that was no one's ever celebrated Albanian independence before.
I don't remember it ever being done, you know, up until so far this year. Do you?
No, and it's, well, I don't recall it being a British colony either. Why would they be celebrating it here?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. But, of course, the reaction on social media has been interesting, to say the least. You know, those who favour unfettered migration say, oh, isn't it nice to see some young people out enjoying themselves? Well, that's one way of looking at it. Other people are going, what on earth is going on? And people are saying, well, would you get upset when people celebrate Diwali or do you get upset when people celebrate Eid? Well, no, because that's not what's going on here. There is, as you say, some kind of show of force going on. Yeah, we're here. Good luck trying to get rid of us.
What are you going to do about it? Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, we're seeing, that was one clip, and perhaps that's less of an outrageous clip than the many clips which I've seen on Twitter and other places which go unreported on by mainstream media of violence across London, of, you know, I don't know where these ethnic minorities come from, but lots of ethnic minorities actually challenging the police, throwing bottles at them, the police having to, you know, escape at high speed in their vehicles, not challenging these people in the end, trying to do it, but then being overwhelmed. We saw that big riot in Leicester between Pakistanis and Indians over a cricket match. I mean, what is going on in the United Kingdom? Is this where we want the country to go? Do we want the country to effectively import values and behaviour which is, you know, damaging to the fabric of our country? What are we up to?
And these are the same people who say we shouldn't go to Qatar and let and make them sort of somehow bend to our will, and that the Qataris should be able to live the life that they want to live. We shouldn't be interfering with their government and their rules. Well, really?
I mean, we're completely at sixes and sevens over Qatar, aren't we? We've had billions and billions of pounds invested in London. We never blinked from the Qataris. Sadiq Khan has now found his moral compass and he's banned advertising from Qataris in the tube. As a result, the Qataris have said they're not going to invest another penny in London. We've got Gary Lineker mouthing off now in Qatar, having taken £1.6 million. I mean, it's all over the place. And we've got the same kind of problem with Rishi Sunak in China. I know you're going to talk about China later. But he talks about robust pragmatism. I mean, either you see China as a geopolitical threat, in which case you've got to challenge it on all fronts, particularly economically, or you don't, in which case you can engage with it. But that you can't have robust pragmatism. Robust pragmatism, for me, is, you know, political speak for, well, we recognise China's a threat, but we haven't got the political will to do anything about it. We rely too much on trade with China, so we're just going to let this thing slip. That's what Rishi Sunak is saying, effectively, in that one phrase.
Yeah, exactly right.